Assalamualaikum and hi to lecturer and fellow friends. My name is Khairunisa binti Ahmad Kamudin and I'll be present chapter 8, Securing Information Systems, subtopic 8.3. What are the components of an organizational framework for security and control? So, our today's discussion is information system controls, risk assessment, security policy, disaster recovery planning and business continuity planning, and the role of auditing. First of all, let's look into what are the components of an organizational framework for security and control. Firms need to establish a good set of both general and application controls for their information systems. A risk assessment evaluates information assets, identifies control points and control weaknesses, and determines the most cost-effective set of controls. Firms must also develop a coherent corporate security policy and plans for continuing business operations in the event of disaster or disruption. The security policy includes policies for acceptable use and identity management. Comprehensive and systematic information systems auditing helps organizations determine the effectiveness of security and controls for their information system. First, let's look into the first topic, which is information system controls. Information system controls are both manual and automate and consist of general and application controls. There's two sub in this topic, which is general controls. General controls govern the design, security, and use of computer programs and the security of data files in general throughout the organization's information technology infrastructure. On the whole, general controls apply to all computerized applications and consist of a combinations of hardware, software, and manual procedures that create an overall control environment. Second, which is application controls. Application controls are specified controls unique to each computerized application, such as payroll or order processing. They include both automate and manual procedures that ensure that only authorized data are completely accurately processed by the application. Application controls can be classified as input controls, processing controls, and output controls. Let's look into input controls. Input controls check data for accuracy and completeness when they enter the system. There are specific input controls for input authorization, data conversion, data editing, and error handling. Second, processing controls. Processing controls establish that data are complete and accurate during updating. Third, output controls ensure that the results of computer processing are accurate, complete, and properly distributed. Let's look into the next topic, which is risk assessment. A risk assessment determines the level of risk to the firm if a specific activity or process is not properly controlled. Not all risks can be anticipated and measured, but most businesses will be able to acquire some understanding of the risk they face. Business managers working with information systems specialists should try to determine the value of information assets, points of vulnerability, the likely frequency of a problem, and the potential damage. For example, if an event is likely to occur no more than once a year with a maximum of 1,000 loss to the organization, it is not wise to spend 20,000 on the design and maintenance of a control to protect against that event. However, if that same event could occur at least once a day with a potential loss of more than 300,000 a year. 100,000 spent on a control might be entirely appropriate. Next topic is security policy. A security policy consists of statements ranking information risk, identifying acceptable security goals, and identifying the mechanism for achieving these goals. What are the firm's most important information assets? Who generates and controls this information in the firm? What existing security policies are in place to protect the information? So, let's look into the security policy. The security policy drives other policies determining acceptable use of the firm's information resources and which members of the company have access to its information assets. First, an acceptable use policy, or AUP, defines acceptable uses of the firm's information resources and computing equipment, including desktop and laptop computers, wireless devices, telephones, and the internet. A good AUP defines unacceptable and acceptable actions for every user and specifies consequences for non-compliance. Second, identity management consists of business processes and software tools for identifying the valid users of a system and controlling their access to system resources. It includes policies for identifying and authorizing different categories of system users, specify what system or portions of system each user is allowed to access, and the processes and technologies for authenticating users and protecting their identities. Next topic is disaster recovery planning and business continuity planning. If you run a business, you need to plan for events such as power outages, floods, earthquakes, or terrorist attacks that will prevent your information system and your business from operating. First is the disaster recovery planning, which is the devices plan for the restoration or disrupted computing and communication services. Disaster recovery plans focus primarily on the technical issues involved in keeping systems up and running, such as which files to backup and the maintenance of backup computers or disaster recovery services. For example, MasterCard maintains a duplicate computer center in Kansas City, Missouri to serve as an emergency backup to its primary computer center in St. Louis. So it means that each of big firms that working out there, we need to have a recovery planning to back up our files that work the firms. Second is business continuity planning. Business continuity planning focuses on how the company can restore business operations after a disaster strikes. The business continuity plan identifies critical business processes and determines action plans for handling missions critical functions if systems go down. For example, Deutsche Bank, which provides investment banking and asset management services in 74 countries, has a well-developed business continuity plan that is continually updated and refined. It maintains full-time teams in Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, India, and Australia to coordinate plans addressing loss of facilities, personnel, or critical systems so that the company can continue to operate when a catastrophic event occurs. Deutsche Bank's plan distinguishes between processes critical for business survival and those critical to crisis support, and is coordinate with the company's disaster recovery planning for its computer center. And the last topic is the role of auditing. When we run a firm, we must know how does management know that information systems, security and controls are effective. To answer this question, organizations must conduct comprehensive and systematic audits. And information system audit examine the firm's overall security environment as well as controls governing individual information systems. The auditor should trace the flow of sample transactions through the system and perform tests using, if appropriate, automated audit software. The information system audit may also examine data quality. Security audits review technologies, procedures, documentation, training and personnel. A thorough audit will even simulate an attack or disaster to test the response of the technology, information system staff, and business employees. The audit lists and ranks all control weaknesses and estimates the probability of the occurrence. It then assesses the financial and organizational impact of each threat. It includes a section for notifying management of such weaknesses, and for management responses, management is expected to devise a plan for countering significant weaknesses in control. So that's all from me. Thank you for spending your time, and this presentation prepared for Sir Husaini bin Ibrahim.